Brian Malahy in Salt Lake City, about 9 South and State Street, where there's been a shooting that has involved an officer. Sergeant Brandon Shearer is with Salt Lake City Police. He's going to give us a briefing right now.
Okay. So at 10:17 this evening, an officer stopped a person going down the street. Two other officers arrived to back him up. At some point, the suspect produced a weapon. De-escalation tactics were used to try and get the suspect to put down the weapon. At one point, the officer did fire his weapon at the subject. Once this person was shot, the officers administered life-saving aid and contacted medical. The suspect was transported to an area hospital where he later passed away from his injuries. What we know about the male is an adult male, African American, and again, he did pass away from his injuries.
So they're following him down the street. What was the reason for that?
They weren't following him. They stopped him and were communicating with him on the side of the road.
I see. And what was the reason that they stopped him?
I don't know. That'll be part of the investigation. I don't know the exact reason for the initial stop.
Okay, and what led to the shots exactly?
Again, the suspect produced a weapon, and I don't know what happened from that point, but there was a weapon recovered at the scene, and multiple, like I said, de-escalation tactics were used to attempt to get the suspect to drop the weapon.
Can you elaborate on those?
I can't at this time.
Did both police officers, there were two, correct?
There were three officers on scene. It's believed at this time that only one officer used his weapon.
How long did the de-escalation back and forth go on before the shot?
Again, I don't know in this particular circumstance. Every time that we have a circumstance like this, they can be very dynamic, and every circumstance is different. So that's something that the detectives will have to look into. We have activated the officer-involved critical incident protocol. Unified Police Department has responded, and they will be handling the investigation along with District Attorney Sim Gill's office.
When you say a weapon was found, can you tell us what weapon?
Not at this time.
And did the suspect point the weapon at the officers?
Again, I don't have details of what all the interaction was. That's stuff that will come out through the investigation.
Were the officers wearing cameras?
All three officers were wearing body cameras. It's not known at this time if they were activated or not, but all three were wearing their body cameras.
How many times was the victim shot?
I do not know.
When you said that he stopped him, was he on foot or was he in a vehicle?
He was a pedestrian, so he was either on a bicycle or on foot. I'm not 100% sure.
What about the officer? Was he on foot or driving?
He was in a vehicle.
You know,
Exactly did this happen? So you got a big area here close.
Yeah, this happened at 1002 South State Street.
Oh, this is it.
so did the suspect fire at the officer?
I believe the only shots that were fired were from the officer.
And you know how many shots the officer fired?
I do not.
And we don't know, or you're not able to say how long between the stop and the gunshots.
I don't know right now. No. I know that, like I said, the original traffic stop was called at 10:17 is when the officer called out on the air or the pedestrian stop. I don't have the time that the shots were fired.
Did the man die here, or did the man die at the hospital?
At the hospital, he was pronounced dead.
The cops
or
were
deceased.
and then he said, leave all three of them, or just the one who was shooting?
That's up to the chief. Definitely the officer that fired his weapon will be placed on routine administrative leave. As for the other two, that's at the discretion of the chief.
How long do you anticipate that the street's going to be closed off tonight?
I anticipated it'd be closed probably another 2 to 3 hours. So hopefully it will be back open before rush hour traffic in the morning.
And what do you need to do before you're able to open the street?
Again, that we're actually not handling the investigation. That'll be up to the unified detectives from the Unified Police Department that are handling the investigation. So whatever evidence they need to collect or gather at the scene, once that's done, we will release the street.
Do you have any information on the officer who fired the shots? How long he's been a police officer? Anything like that?
My understanding is he's been with the department over a year. He's an experienced officer. I can't tell you exactly how many years of experience, but he is a veteran officer.
And in terms of the man who was shot, do you have any information on him in terms of whether police have had contact with him in the past, whether he was known to the officers?
I don't have that information.
Tough night.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime we have to use any type of force, it's a tough night.
This is Sergeant Brandon Shearer with the Salt Lake City Police Department, and down this way on State Street is where the shooting happened. 3 police officers, 3 of them went to apparently stop a man on the street. That man, according to Sergeant Shearer, produced a gun, and at that point there were de-escalation tactics that went on, according to the police, and the suspect apparently did not put down the weapon. Only one officer fired shots. We don't know how many. We don't know why police stopped this man, described as an African-American man, in the first place, but we do know that it's been a difficult night for Salt Lake City Police. Unified Police are on the scene. This is part of a protocol that has become more ingrained in the police investigations of officer-involved shootings of late. And it's something that is done now as a matter of course, where one police department will investigate another, essentially, and that the district attorney's office will also be involved in this investigation. One man killed, and Sergeant Shearer is sticking around with other members of the press. The man in the hat is Drew Ambley, one of our photographers, and then officers have kept the street here at 9 South and State closed. And if you go a little bit further up the road to about maybe 1100 South, Herbert Avenue, that area, they've also closed that area there. We did speak to some kids in the neighborhood this evening. They were with their grandmother, and the kids in the neighborhood said that they heard what they thought were firecrackers, and there was a rapid succession, apparently, pop, 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 and then they later came outside and they saw the police presence, but they didn't see the shooting itself. We haven't talked to anybody who has actually seen the shooting. So the case is under investigation. 3 officers, at least one will be on administrative leave, the one who fired the shots, a man, an officer who apparently has had some experience, been with the Salt Lake City Police Department for about a year, but has also been perhaps with other police departments, described as a veteran officer. That's the situation. More on Facebook, Twitter, KUTV.com, and tomorrow morning on 2 News This Morning.
Take your backpack off for me. Okay, put your hands behind your back for me.
Bravo
244 priority, shots fired. Start medical.
Okay, cover him. I'm gonna. I got him.
241, confirming